Hello guys, welcome to Coder. Once again, welcome to React.js complete series. In today's video, we will discuss and learn about styling your component using CSS. That means how you can add styling to your component in React.js. As we know, if we build any website, then we definitely need styling part in any web application. As we know, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and it is used to format the layout of a web page. You must be familiar with the CSS part definitely. With CSS, you can control the color, the font size, text, and all these things. And you can change the background and all these things. And you can make layout for different devices and different screen depending upon how responsive you are making your web application. Let's get started. So there are three different ways by which you can add styling to your component, or we can say React application. First one is Inline Styling, second one is CSS Stylesheet, and third one CSS Module. So that means these are the three different ways by which you can make your component more attractive, or you can say you can add styling to your component. Now we will see one by one how you can make it. At first you can see I have one React application which is very much clean and no CSS is there. Now at first we will see how you can add inline style to your application, or we can say component. Now if I go to my root component, or we can say app.js, because this is the one which is included in index.js. You can see app, this one is imported. So now what we gonna do, at first you can see this color. Now I want to add style. So normally in HTML also, if you want to add any style, then you always write style as an inline one, so that you can able to add CSS part. So same here also, I will write style, but I will write curly braces first, and then again inside that curly braces. Now why we are doing this one? Because if you have to write inline CSS to your component, or we can say in React application, then you have to add as an object. Now that means color I'm giving as red. Now if I save this one, you can see it is changed to red. That means, as we know, we use curly braces to add any JSX to your component. But now if you are adding style, that means if you have to add style, or we can say inline style, then you need to give as object. So if I have to add more like background color, and I'm giving as suppose light blue. Now background color will be added. But you must be wondering, in normal CSS when we write, or we can say to any HTML, if we write inline style, then we don't write in camel case. We normally write plain HTML like this way. But as we know, we have to pass inline style as an object. So that means in object, if you are defining JavaScript object, that means this hyphen will not work. So that means we have to change this to like this one. Then only React will not throw any error, and you can able to see the reflection. That means if you have any text like background color, if it is background image, background attachment, all these things, it needs to be in camel case. if it is font size and all these ones. So you need to make it camel case, then only it can work for you. But you must be wondering how it is working, because behind the scene React.js is making in that way normal CSS. Like if I give you the inspect one, then you can able to see it is showing me color red and background hyphen color light blue. So behind the scene it is getting converted to normal CSS, but when you are writing this one, you have to write in this camel case format. So this is the first way how you can add inline style to your component or React application. Now there is much more different way we can do. You can create object as well. That means if I, because normally we are passing object, so that means what we can do, we can define like head style, and it will be an object. So we can write the same stuff, and we can pass head style to this one, so it will work. So in this way also you can make it. So if you have more text, more forms, and more buttons is there, so you can create separate inline object, and then you can pass it like JSX. So this is how you can add inline style to your component. Now there is another way which we said is like adding a CSS Stylesheet. So I will remove this one, or what we can do, I will create a folder components, and in that component I'm going to add one file, that is inline. It will be, suppose it will be form.css. okay, and then we have to import, oh sorry, it needs to be JS. Sorry, don't save, it will be JS. Okay, now I have to import React from React, and then we have to define as a arrow function form, and then it will return something, and for this one I will write div, and here I will define form. Okay, and it will be like input type text. Okay, only this one I am defining right now, and right now I will export this one, export default form. Okay, up to that one everything seems correct. Okay, now same form I'm going to import it in my app.js. So it will be import form. Okay, now I'm going to add it to my app.js. okay, so it will be rendered. Okay, this one is the input box which we have added inside form. So I will just give the label as well, name, and it will be shown like this one. Okay, so that means this is how I have added form component inside my app component. Okay, so that means now what we're gonna do, we will define one CSS file inside component. So I will name it form dot css, and in that form dot css I will add not too much but basic styling for my input. Okay, so it will be, I will just give the class name as input hyphen box. Okay, and then same I'm going to, as we know, if we have to add CSS or if we have to add class, then we always give dot, and here I will write with, it will be, so in this here, or we can say if you are adding style sheet, then you can able to write plain CSS without any issue, 100%. And after that I will add some padding like 12 px. After that I will add some border, and border will be like 1 px solid, and some color will also I give, and after that I will just add border radius as well, and it will be 4 px. So let's see how it looks like, but before that one we have to import it. Import it will be like, because we are importing this one, form dot css. That's how I will import it. And if I refresh this one, you can see something had changed. Previously it was not very much nice, but as you can see I have added with 100%, so that's why it is a bit large. If I add 50%, it is like this one, or if I remove, it's 10%. Okay, so you can see the form input get changed if we have used the second way how you can style your component. So in this method, or in this second type, what we did, we created a form.css file, and then we are importing this one, and once we are importing this one, we have defined a class name, input box, and then I'm just writing plain CSS just like we normally write for any web application. That means this is how the second method follows. You can able to make it in this way, and if you inspect this one, you have this CSS part. That means this is how you can add styling to your component. Now third way, or I can say one of the most important way by which you can add styling to your component. And why I'm saying it is most important, because it is one of the standard way to add styling to your component, and in most of the application you will see that inline styling and style sheet is not that much preferred, but the CSS module part is much more preferred, and they are heavily used in any React application. So for this one, I'm just closing all my other application. Okay, so again I'm going to create new file, that is, and I will now name it login.js. okay, and I will import React from React, and after that I will const login, and I will have to return something, and then at last I have to export default, and it will be login. Okay, now I will add some predefined one. Okay, now I already have one HTML, that one I'm going to add first. It is normal form one, login form HTML that I have written. So you can see we have form, input, label, and all these things. Now if I'm going to import the same, just like we did for form one, login from login. Okay, now if I import this one, now you can see there's no styling part, nothing. Now what we gonna do, at first we will create a file, that is inside the same component folder. I'm going to create one file and I will name it login.module.css. So in third way, whenever you are writing or whenever you are creating file for CSS, then you always have to include module as keyword, we can say. That one you always have to include. So if just like if I were writing for form.css, then it will be form.module.css. So module word needs to be prefixed before .css extension which you are giving for your file. So this is the first one. Okay, I did this way. Now I will write some CSS for my login.js. So that means I definitely have some CSS part which I'm going to include. So this is right now I just created the file only, and now I'm going to include some designing part as well. Okay, and for the designing one, I'm not going to do like a lot of changes and lot of things inside this one, but the basic styling part I'm going to make it. So I already have written some designing part, so I'm just going to copy and paste inside this one. So you can see in this module.css also, it is plain CSS which we have written inside form.css, normal CSS without object anything, normal CSS which we write in any web application. This is how the same CSS you have to write, but the extension, or we can say the file name, has to be module.css. So that means the module keyword you always have to give. And there's one more difference you can see once we run our application. And now what we did, we have to import this module.css. So for this one, what we have to do, import, or we can say login style from. So import is different as compared to what we were importing for the form.css. Here we have to import as login.style from login.module.css. In this case, file name feature will get changed, importing also will get changed. Why we are changing this one? Because once we add style and all these ones, you can see here, you can see we have added container, class name as container. Now it needs to be in JSX, so it will be like dot, it will be container, like in this way. Okay, and after that same thing you have to follow. That means what we are doing, whatever we are importing from login.module.css, that one we are passing as an object, because here we are getting in the same way. And for this one, there's another class name will be there. Okay, there's no class name. Now if I refresh this one, you can see some changes will be there. You can see our whole login design get changed. Why it get changed? Because we have imported in this way. Now the biggest difference you can see, and one more important point you can make note, the CSS inside a module is available only for that specific component that you have imported it, and you don't have to worry about the conflict part, because it is separated, or you can say once you run the application, it is separated for each and every component. Now you can see the class name, they have added the prefix part login hyphen container and some coding, or you can say some encoding part they have added to your class. This is how it work for you. Login is the file name, and after that container is the class name, and then some encoding they have added. So that's why it is unique for each and every component. And you can see the plain CSS we have added here. You can see the inline CSS we have added. It is plain CSS they are adding without encoding and anything. The class name we have included in input box. This is for the form 1, and for form 1 what we did, we have created one style sheet, and there also no encoding, nothing is there. But for the module 1 they have added encoding and other thing. If you make any other changes, suppose if I make like this login one is there, okay, so I will name it like now input box, okay, and I will remove this one, and this input one I will add as a class name, and it will be JSX. So what we are inputting through the login style dot. Now you can see the difference in this input. For the input box as well, they will add some designing. Now you can see login input fox and then some design, because what we did is input fox there, it will be input box. It will be input box, okay. So I will just update my class name with these two. Now you can see login input box and then some encoding they have added. So that means whenever you run your application and whenever you create your application, then you always include CSS through third method, which is module.css. The reason is same, it gives you encoding, and it is, and once you, and it will be unique for each and every component, and it is not very easy for anyone to understand, you know, what CSS you have written behind the scene for what file and all this one, and it is much more preferred way for using CSS in your application. I hope you will get to know like all these 3 different way to add CSS in your project. That's all in today's video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you guys.